what are the regional mechanisms? I'm going to look at first the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, the African Court, and this African Court of Justice. That beyond Uganda, what else can be done? And we've been having so many debates about these other mechanisms. Do they work? Are they backing dogs? But I think sometimes it's better to have a backing dog than none at all. So these are some of the things we need to look at, and I know majority of you know about this, but I'm just going to give a key highlight on the same. How many of us, let me ask this question, how many of us know where the East African Court of Justice is? Yes? Yes? Arusha. And then the African Commission, anyone knows where it sits? African Commission? Yes?
It's in Addis.
Addis first, but now, someone else? Yes, it used to sit in Addis, but now? Banjul, the Gambia. And then the court, where is the court? The African court? Arusha, Tanzania. The point is that the thing is about using these mechanisms is actually to put some things on record. Most of you remember the DRC case against Uganda. And I remember even one of the MP was raising it in Parliament that we, as Ugandans, we didn't participate in raping women, we didn't participate in stealing timber. Why should all the Ugandans participate in paying back DRC? And actually we're mooting something about, we know who was the command. We know who was the command of whoever did that. Can we ask the court that the individuals that were in command should be the ones to pay instead of Ugandans? But that's also decisions to look at and see how far we move. But basically, this court is to interpret the treaty, offer advisory opinions, and the rest. This one you can always read on their website. They have a very good website. But I think for me, the most important thing is about these judges here. And this is a problem where they are appointed by the summit. And we know what that means. So if tomorrow, okay, maybe if I start teaching properly, if we ask a question that, do you think the East African Court of Justice is a political entity? What would your answer be? If it is appointed by the heads of states or government, how impartial are they going to be? But also the process of having these persons there. Because I know at the African Court of Justice, we were doing some work in terms of supporting, in terms of the vetting of the applicants, of the judges. How much do the people of East Africa have in terms of the appointment of these judges? Do even these people of East Africa know that they are supposed to pay subscription? I know at one point that even at African Union, the government of China is paying membership subscription for some countries. Now, if you cannot even pay subscription and China is paying for you, what interest do you have, in commitment? So there is a whole lots of issues, but at least we have a Ugandan judge, Justice Chebroin by the Shark. It's a bit progressive, but I think the point I'm making is that, especially practitioners to do with human rights and us who use mostly these courts and mechanisms, we need to pay attention when there is a slot to be filled, so that we also support the process, so that we have a progressive person there. Otherwise, we may not get much. But like I've said, this is, for me, is important, that the reason as why these mechanisms are there and why we go to court sometimes is to create jurisprudence, but also precedents. And the decisions of this court set precedents that, unfortunately, that precedence principle is dying. You find a court giving another judgment that contradicts even with itself, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that we have gone ahead and there is what? Precedents to be used next time. And of course, there's two chambers or divisions, which is the first instance and then the ones which is appeals. So usually applications or cases that you might have, and this is really to the interpretation of the treaty in terms of the violations. Recently, one of my friends, I think, filed an application against Tanzania for throwing out people with small businesses. I don't know if you read that. To say Tanzania is violating, when we had a lot of abductions of people of Rwandi's origin in Uganda, someone filed a case against Uganda for that. So that in terms means that the civil liberties beyond Uganda and taken out of Uganda are not only just for judicial precedent, but they are an advocacy issue. Because you see, what they are trying to do is that someone is trying to report you to your grandfather if you think your father is your friend. So once it gets out of the jurisdiction of Uganda and it is out there, it is no longer simple things like Attorney General, it is a state of Uganda. And I've read a decision that actually came out a week ago, African court, on inhuman treatment and torture and the rest. And it's against Uganda. Uganda is found in violation, whether it was its officers or the rest, but it is important to use these mechanisms. And these are some of the examples of the cases that come from Uganda, which is a good thing. And the first one, as you can see, the one of Uganda Law Society, on the issue of the UPDF law. You know that the parliament passed, they amended the law to alter the decision of the court. And yet in our constitution in Uganda, I think Article 93, that you cannot, or thereabout, that you cannot alter the decision of the court. You cannot make any law to alter or modify whatever the decision of the court. So Parliament goes ahead to and create a law, amend the law. Actually, they're supposed to actually have created a new law, because that amendment that has more than 70 provisions, not an amendment. But so they amended the law and created a new law and reversed the court's decision. So you got East African Law Society filed that case, and that's what members we are happy. And then there are quite a number, but I think notably, as you can see, the ones here issue for Kiza Aaron on the issues of general court martial, personal liberty, because also that the courts can play their own politics, and the court was the Supreme Court was clear. Is this thing a court, a competent court, to try anyone or not? So, and I think that this decision, hopefully the East African Court can give us a decision whenever they give us. It will help to amplify issues of personal liberty, fair trial. If I'm an advocate and I'm found in contempt, there is no trial to help me put my defense to contempt. You just say, for you are being held in contempt and therefore sentenced to 9 months because you're shouting in court. How many of you have traveled beyond the border? Yes? Yeah. Have you used the national ID before? Yes. What do they give you? The thing they stamp. Yes. The interstate pass. Now, I've used it 2 times to just try out something. When you return to Uganda, they withhold it. They withhold it. Now, you have to be smart to take a picture before they withhold it. So that you show that, because what shows you in Kenya? Because you're not going to move the government of Kenya to say, okay, can we check in your immigration to give us details? They don't. So the court here said, but there was no evidence that Besigye was in what? Was in Kenya. What evidence are you going to use? Yeah. So he didn't use his passport. Because the police, like Mr. Dennis here, will tell us, I mean, they said, no, according to our records, the man last used his passport in 2023. But I can use an endorsement to enter a country. So I'm also telling you that make sure that you just never know. I keep mine because you just never know. So that interstate pass then remain. Once you return to Entebbe or wherever, they retain it. So for you, what shows that you went to Rwanda and came back? Nothing. Yeah. So that case, I hope it will sort some of those things. And so you see how jurisprudence grows from something which we think is normal and not normal, and in the end it sorts out. In most cases, the African Commission is confused with the African courts. Because ideally, the Commission does more work, I think, it's more reachable, it's more progressive, it is more human rights, because its mandate is actually to do this. It's like our Uganda Human Rights Commission Tribunal. I mean, when people find it easy to go to because it is dealing specifically with human rights issues. So you may find people say, no, I think it is Kenya. Kenya has a human rights division of the High Court, and it's very progressive. So it is very difficult to confuse that with the Commission's tribunal. But so this was established then. It is important to mark the date, 87. But these are its main functions, and which I think we all in this room agree that, with especially civil liberties, protection, promotion, and interpretation of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. We must collaborate. We must work together and see that actually these processes work. I mean, Tanzania has been found in violation a lot for failure to protect the life of persons with albinism. I was researching on that, and you see, and you find that there are so many cases on albinism. If you want to search about albinism, the right of dignity, these guys have the right to life. Most of them have been killed because they think that your finger costs money. And I realized that actually in the entire world we have no country that has a law that makes possession of body parts a crime. When I was working with the UN Special Rapporteur on the UN Independent Expert on the Rights of Persons with Albinism, we were doing a 10 years report. There's no country in the world, but every country has a law on possession of drugs as if it is a big problem. But there's no country in the world that has a law against possession of a body part. Because what is going to happen? Someone can traffic a hand, right? Because they have told him, just give me a left hand of a person with what? Albinism. Like the cases in Tanzania, you read, they are very bad. Today they come and harvest the leg of the woman. After 2 days, they come and harvest the hand. They take the hands in parts, the body parts in parts. But then you're charging this person with murder, but there is no body. You see how it's going to be difficult for you. But then they were saying, let's make our work easy, and the works of the police, that can we have a law on possession? The moment you have a finger, you are in possession of a body part. It is illegal. Whether they gave it to you, to take it to who, that is another discussion. But once you don't have a law on it is legal to be in possession of a body part, and you're charging a person with a finger with murder, where are you going to get the body? You found me in Mozambique with a finger that I bought from Kampala. By the time you charge me with murder, how are you going to charge me with murder? So that's why in most cases they collapse. And because of, as I wind up, because of this advocacy on albinism and the court being very decisive and taking, and civil society in Tanzania, do you know what has happened? So they banned Tanzania, I think, banned the use of witchcraft, the so-called herbalists and the rest, etc. Do you know what happened? They now moved down to Mozambique and Malawi. So there was a lot of killings of persons with albinism in Malawi, because the trade had now shifted south. And interestingly, when you look at all those countries, I think a few, South Africa and Mozambique and Malawi, now have some cross-border engagements on how to deal with that issue. Now, as East Africa, do we even have any cross-border engagements on human rights? We don't even have the East African Protocol on Governance. We're just there. Guys, I love East Africa, but we're just there. Yeah. Thank you very much.